What did you do for a living? Let's just cover that one.
Well, I was really a chemist. I went to the university. In fact, the guy who taught me physics was DMacNeill at the university. And about the only time he came and congratulated me was when I did rather well in the physics class, because in the Glasgow University at that time, if you're in a big class, in the first year of physics, there'd be about 300. And it was a big kind of theatre-like class. And the lab boy every morning would come in and he would look around, because you had to sit in the same seat and he could quickly work out who wasn't there. And if you missed so many lectures, you didn't get a class ticket. You weren't allowed to sit the final exam.
Yes.
Anyway, the guy next to me was a chap, MacNeill, same name as me. He had been at Keele School, and he wasn't very bright. Anyway, when I did very well in physics, he was, "Oh, he's so pleased." And I said, "You never congratulate me." Well, he said, "Piping's different." Anyway, after I really did chemistry, and when I finished chemistry, I was then called up, because you had to do national service. And so I did national service for 2 years, and I was reasonably lucky because I got posted to Paris for about 15 months, and I enjoyed that.
Did you speak French when you were there?
Well, I'd done French at school, yes, I had to, but not a lot, because you're mainly working with the army.
Yeah.
Our job was, it was a mixed unit, American, British, and we were really looking after the communications with all the NATO countries. It was the NATO headquarters we were really in.
Yeah.
And that was quite good, because the American army is quite different and it's quite interesting. And the good experience I had there, eventually I took my pipes out and I got in touch. I went to the Scottish church in Paris, and the chap there was a fellow from Islay, who during the war had done great work, and getting airmen and soldiers out.
What was his?
He was the Tartan Pimpernel.
I guessed that, and I was wanting you to say that. Yes.
Came from Islay, Donald Caskey.
Aye.
Now he's a delightful man. Anyway, he said, "Oh, if you've got your pipes, come along to the Caledonian Society practice night, because every year in Paris they have the Caledonian Society ball, to which everyone goes, everyone. And so every fortnight they would have this practice. And so there's a chap from Dundee, he wasn't a piper, but he was a very good dancer. And he and I used to go along, and Donald said, "Come to my flat," and he lived right in the middle of the town. And he would give us a beer, and then we would go along to this thing and, practice the country dancing and whatnot. So and through that I got to know some of the Breton pipers.
Yes.
Because there were 1 or 2 Bretons in Paris.
There's quite an enclave at Montparnasse.
That's it.
Yeah.
And so I got to know some of them. Sadly, one of them, the one I knew pretty well, he had a terrible accident. He was a lawyer. I think he's dead now, but he had a hard time.
Yeah.
But anyway, I got to know them. So I enjoyed the Paris National Theatre. Then I came back and had to get a job, and I got a job with Colville's, Iron Steel. And I enjoyed that very much because, first of all, I was in the research, but I fairly soon got into the practical side, management side. And in fact, I helped to start up Ravenscraig, because I was on the blast furnace side. Don't know if you know what a blast furnace is.
Yes, I'm an engineer trade.
Well, yeah, well, blast furnaces are pretty important. And we're the only one in Glasgow, Dixon's Blazes.
Yes.
But the Clyde Iron Works was just at the end of London Road, Auchenshoogle, halfway between Tollcross and Campbell's.
There's a lot of that heavy industry in the east end of Glasgow and North Lanarkshire.
Yes, well, Colville's had a lot of DL Works and Lanarkshire Works, and they'd one down in Ayrshire, and they had Clyde Iron Works was one of the oldest. They didn't have it all the time, but it started in 1786, and it was started really by Carron Ironworks. And if you know your history, you'll know that Carron Ironworks made the carronade gun, which was became very popular and very useful for the ships. And so, in fact, it was one of the things that made the British Navy so effective, because the older ones were very heavy.
Yes.
And Carron made a very good quality gun, which was rather lighter and quicker to reload and whatnot.
It's all the quality of the metal, really, isn't
And
it?
so they got a loan of £40,000 from the Bank of Scotland and built Clyde Ironworks with better coal and stuff there. Anyway, I was works manager there for a while, and then I enjoyed that. It was a wonderful works, because everyone, it's one of these places when things go wrong, everyone has to work. And so I enjoyed that very much. Then I had a spell at Lanarkshire Works. And Lanarkshire Works was where we made rails and joists and things like that. And we had, just before I went there, we had a universal mill, and it made universal beams. You know, the old joists were quite heavy at the inside,
Yes.
and they were flanged out. But the universal mill made the joist quite parallel, and so very much lighter for the same strength and more effective.
So an eye joist.
Yes, it's an H-beam or whatever, but without the heavy, and that was a great mill.
So that was your background.
And then I came back to be in charge of Clyde Bridge Steelworks and Clyde Iron. Clyde Bridge made all the steel for the shipyards. And we made the steel, well, I wasn't involved, for the Titanic and the QM, Queen Mary's and all these ships.
So you fed the shipyards and the Clyde.
Yes, shipyard and the Clyde and Belfast, all Belfast.
Yeah.
And
Excellent.
everywhere. And it's sadly, I had to close that down. We paid off 4,500 men.
My
And
goodness.
they're great workers.
Aye.
We never had strikes or anything.
No.
It was an excellent place. It was tragedy.